Okay, class, again, this video is going to be a little bit different than what the other videos that we've had are, just because I really need to get this information out to you. So again, I just wanted to say that I apologize. This video is not going to be as polished as what the other ones were, but the information at least will be here. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I want to do is I want to show you how to go about working with the Access Chapter 2, the Let Me Try. Okay, so we'll talk about the skills and the things that go along with that. So let me go ahead and share my screen and just share my screen. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and again go into our course. And we'll go down here and we'll go into our module, which is the week 17 module right now. So this time we're working with tables. And we'll go right into our green box demonstration assignment. And there are two items that you need to download. One is an Access database. The other one is the image of Bernice James. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and minimize that to take us to our desktop. And so what I'll do is I will right click, I'll make a new folder. And I'm going to go ahead and call this Access Chapter 2 Assignments, just so that that's where we're going to be saving our work to. And then we'll go back into our Canvas, and we're going to go ahead and download the AC2-01 SPA ACCDB. And again, the preview of it is not going to show up because of the type of file that it is. And again, I'm on Firefox, so my downloads all go right here. But if you're on Chrome, you might see something down here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the folder that contains it. There it is. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit cut. And I'm going to minimize it. And then I'll go ahead and paste it then into my folder that I'm working on. So it's there. And then I'm going to go back into Canvas. And I want to download this Bernice James LMT. And so we see Bernice James. So I'm going to right click on her picture and or do this, hit save as. There it is. So there's Bernice James. So I'm going to click on that. And let's see. So I'm going to right click and hit copy or cut. Then I can go down here and again go into my chapter folder and paste. So I have those two files because that's what we're going to need when we're working on this. Okay, so we'll do that. Let me go ahead and change again to the student view just so that it looks exactly like what yours does. And then we'll minimize this and let me stop the share for just 1 moment. Okay, so if you have your book, what you can do is you can go on over to page AC 55. But real quick, what we'll be learning about is we'll be understanding the role of tables in a relational database. We'll be talking about identifying the field data types, and we'll discuss the different data types and what those mean. We'll learn how to create a new table in Datasheet View and add and delete and move fields. We'll also learn how to create a new table in Design View and set the primary key, add and delete and move fields. You'll format fields in Datasheet View and Design View, modify the field properties in Datasheet View, Design View, work with attachment fields, create lookup fields, and then create and modify table relationships. So the first thing is designing a table. Now, again, your tables are going to be pretty much the foundation of your database. And again, the big thing is that you want to store each unique piece of information in a single table. So there's only, one record for each customer, etc. Okay, so if we go over here to page AC 57 for skill 2.1, we need to go ahead and open the file AC02-01 SPA, and then we'll go ahead and resave it. So let me go ahead and share the screen again. So I'm going to go into our chapter assignments and open up the file AC02-01 SPA. So I'm going to double click on it and open it up. Okay, here it is. And we can go ahead and enable content. Then we'll go up here to File, to Save As. Again, we want to save it as a Access database. Then we're going to do underscore last first. Okay, so we went ahead, we've now resaved it. So the first thing I want to do is open the appointments table and explore the fields in the table. So we have the appointments table. We see here that we have an appointment ID, we have an appointment date, an appointment time, a customer number, and then what service it was that they had. And then click the field that uses the auto number data field. So we see here, this is the auto number. So 1 through, okay. Click one of the fields that uses the time and date style. So this would be the date and this would be the time. Okay, so those, and then click one of the fields that uses the short text, which would be probably the customer name, okay, or also the service. Those would be examples of short text. Probably this one though. This other one's like a lookup kind of thing. So then the next one we want to do is we want to go ahead and open up the customers table and explore the fields. Observe how the customer ID field relates to the customer field in the appointment table. Identify the data type for each field. So again, so we'll look at the customers table now. We see that this customer number corresponds with the customer number here, okay? But again, this is unique to each customer. Okay, then we have again their title, such a short text lookup, short text. All these are probably all short text. And then you have the phone number field, which again is probably set up as short text. And then a checkbox to say if it's active or not. And then some kind of a short text field for the note. Okay. So I want to go ahead and close all the database objects, but I don't need to save any changes that we might have made accidentally. So we'll go ahead and just close out of those. So then what we can do is go over here to page AC 58, and that's skill 2.2, which is creating and saving a table in Datasheet View. So what they want us to do is they want us to go ahead and create a new table in Datasheet View. And so to do that, we're going to go up here to create, and then under tables, we're just going to go ahead and click table. So this right here is what's called Datasheet View. And we want to allow access to create the first field as an auto number field, and that's what it is. And then for the second field, we want to click to add, and it's going to be a short text field because we're just storing text there. And we'll just call it for right now, field 1. And I'm going to call it Bob's Mud Shop. Okay. So he's what would become our first supplier. So we're going to save this as a supplier, and we're going to actually keep working on it. So to save it, we're going to right click on that where it says table 1. We're going to hit save. It's going to ask us for a table name, and I'm going to go ahead and call this suppliers because that's what this eventually will become. Then they want us to go ahead and leave it open because when we go over here on page AC 59, we need to rename the field. Right now it says field 1. That's not terribly helpful. So we want to go ahead and rename the field as, or rename the ID field as supplier ID, and then name the other field as the company name. So what we'll do is we'll right click on ID, and I'll go down here to rename field. And then I'm going to call this supplier ID. Now notice that I don't leave spaces between the words in the field names. Now you can, but the problem is that can cause problems if you're doing more advanced things. So it's best not to have spaces in the actual names of your fields. Okay, so we did that. Now for step 3, they want us to enter the field properties dialog box to rename the field and to change the captions. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and we'll click on where it says field 1. We'll right click. And actually it doesn't do it there. So if you go up here, name and caption, that's the enter field properties. So if you just go up here under properties, name and caption. So then instead of having a name of field 1, I'm going to go ahead and call it company name. So that's the actual name of the field. Now, caption is what it would display on screen. So underlying it, it is the company name, but on screen we can have that space name. Okay. Now when I go, and then we're not going to type a description. Description would just show down here in the status bar, okay? But we're not going to type in a description. So we have the company name, which is the field, the name of the field. Then we have what is more friendly, what would actually show up. Company space name, we click OK. Notice now then, okay? And that's how we want it. And then they want us to save the table. So we can just click on the save button up here, and that saves the table. And then again, they want us to go ahead and keep it open because we're going to go right on to the next step. So we have the company name, but we actually need to add some more fields to this. So the first thing I want to do is to add a new yes, no field to the far right of the table. So I'm going to go up here under click to add, and then I'm going to say yes, no, which has a checkbox. I'm going to go ahead and call this favorite. So what that'll allow us to do is to check a box to say that this is a favorite vendor of ours. Okay, and again, we'll go ahead and leave it open because we're going to keep working. And this time, this is on page AC61, skill 2.5, we're going to use the quick start to add related fields. And so this time what we're going to do is, because they already have some of these things already built in for us. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add the phone number field in there under the quick start. So what we can do is go up here under more fields. Then you see there's a lot of different options for different fields and different types of fields that you can enter. So we're going to go down here and we'll choose under the quick start, we'll choose phone. So now it set, so it added them. If you hold down the shift, it'll allow you to select all 3 of those phones. And then I can click the mouse and then hold it down and drag it so that now it's at the end. Okay. And then again, we'll go ahead and leave that open because we're going to need it for the next step. And in AC62, we're going to delete fields in Datasheet View. So we look at this, we realize that we have a field here for fax number. We really don't want that. So we can go ahead and remove it. And so to do that, we're going to just right click on fax number and then go down and say delete field. Now it will pop up an alert box and it'll ding and it'll ask, do you want to permanently delete the selected fields and all the data in the fields? And it says to permanently delete the fields, click yes. Well, we just have one field that's selected and that's the fax number. We do want to delete it, so we're going to go ahead and click yes. Okay, so we'll go ahead again, we'll leave that open because we're going to need it for the next step. So I want to move fields in the datasheet view. So what I want to do is move the favorite field so that it is at the end. So we'll click on favorite. We'll go ahead and notice how when I click on it, how the mouse cursor changes to a black downward pointing arrow. So I'm going to click on that. So that selects that entire row. Okay, so then I'm going to click, hold down the mouse button, and I'm going to drag it to the end of mobile phone. Okay. Then we can close the table. Now, when we go to close it, it asks if I want to save the changes to the layout of the table suppliers. I do, so I'll say yes. All right, so now what we can do is we'll go ahead and look at skill 2.5, which is creating a table in design view and setting the primary key. And so that is on pages AC 64 and AC 65. Now, what I will just caution you and tell you is that this is primarily how, when I work with Access, this is primarily where I work with it. I don't like to set up things in the datasheet view. I like to set up things when I'm setting up my table to do it in a design view. Now, I can't use it that way, but I can use that when I'm setting up the table. And so what we can do is to go ahead and add a new table in design view. So we'll go up here to create. And then what we'll do is tables, but this time rather than just clicking table, I can say I want to create table using the table design. So I'm going to click on that. Now you notice this looks a little bit different, but it's okay. We're going to show you what to do. So the first field is going to become a product ID. So we'll just type in there product ID, and then the data type. Well, the data type for that is going to be short text, because we're actually going to be typing something in there. Now, again, if it's our primary key, it has to be unique for each product. But we'll do short text because we're going to go ahead and type it in. Then they want us to add a description of internal product ID. So we'll go ahead and hit tab. We'll type in there internal product ID. Okay, then it says to press the tab key or enter key to move to another field. Oops. Okay, so again, you can use tab to move between each one of these things. So then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add another field, price. And for that, we're going to set the data type then as currency. And then we're not going to add a description to that field. And let's see. For right now, that's all we want to do for right now. But we want to go ahead and set the product ID to become the primary key. So we'll go up here to product ID. I'll select that. I'll right click and then I'll choose primary key. Okay. Or I could go up here under tools and click that. Now you can only have one primary key for each table. So what we can do then is we'll click on the save button, and it's going to ask us then, and what we're saving is not the entire database, we're just saving just this item, because again, everything else has already been saved. So for right now, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and call this table products. And then we'll hit OK. And then we're going to keep the product table open because we're going to be working with it some more in skill 2.9. So down on page, and that applies to AC 66 and 67. And what we're going to do here is we're going to, because we're still in design view, I need to insert another field between the product ID and the price. So if I go right up here, click on product ID, I can hit insert row. And actually, if I click and hold my mouse button, I can drag it to where it needs to go. And I'm going to call this product name. And then I'm going to go over. We're going to leave it at short text. And then again, there's no description. And then I can go ahead and click on the X here and the X here. And then it asks, do I want to save changes to the design of the products table? I do. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we see we have a products table set up, but we don't have any data entered into it yet. So then what we want to do is open the locations table in Design View. So if we go up here to locations and open it up in Design View, I can right click on locations and choose Design View, and then it opens it up into Design View. And it says to delete the building field. So we have a location ID, a location, and a building field. Well, to delete the building field, I can go ahead and click on building, right click, and say delete rows. Again, it's going to give me a message telling me that it's going to permanently delete the selected fields and all of the data in the fields, confirming that. So I want to delete buildings, so I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Now just know that I can't get that back. So then I'll go ahead and hit the X. It's going to ask me to save it. I do. So we're now done with that. Now what I want to do is go ahead and look at our customers field. So I'll go ahead and open up, whoops. Oh, in Design View. So I actually do that. Since I messed up, I double clicked on it. This is Datasheet View, but to get into Design View, I can click on the triangle and the pencil and a ruler. This is Design View, and they want us to move the phone field so it's immediately above the phone type field. So we see phone type and phone. So I'm going to click on phone. I'm going to click, hold my mouse button down, click it, hold my mouse button down, and move it so it's right before the phone type. And then again, I can go up here to click on the Save button, and then go ahead and close the table. Okay. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and change the data type, and that is on page AC 68 and 69. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open up the services table in design and Datasheet View. So we'll go ahead and click on the services. We'll go and open it, and we see here that there's a field here that shows the price, and I want to change the data type. So what I can do is go ahead and click on that field, and then under the table tools, table fields, there's different options. And so what I can do is under the formatting, the data type, right now it's set to short text. I can go ahead and change it to currency. So I can choose, short text, change it from short text to currency. Now, it's going to give me an error. It says that some data may be lost. It says the size of one or more fields has been changed to a smaller size. If data is lost, validation rules may be violated. As a result, do you want to continue anyway? Well, we do, so we'll go ahead and hit OK. So now, instead of it being like it was just the numbers, it's now going to be in the currency, more of a currency type format. Then we can go ahead and close the table. And then on page AC 70 and 71, we're going to be formatting fields. And so this time we're going to go ahead and open up the appointments table. So we'll go ahead and open up the appointments table. And I want to apply the short date format to the appointment date field. So again, I'll go ahead and select the appointment date. Again, I'll go up here to table tools, table tools, and then table fields. And right now it's set to date and time. So, and then it's set to the format is the medium date. So I want to change that to the short date. So I'm going to click short date. And then I can go ahead and switch to the design view and apply the medium time format to the appointment time. So we see here appointment time. I'm going to go ahead and click on that field. And right now the format is set to short time. I want to change that to medium time. So I'm going to click on short time to go down here the arrow and choose medium time. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the save button, and I'll go ahead and close it. They're just showing you there that you can do it both in the datasheet view as well as in the design view. And then on page AC 72 and 73, skill 2.12, which is setting the default value property. And so again, this is handy if there's something, that's very frequent that you can do. So for example, for like the addresses in the customer table, in this company, if it's located in California and it's like a retail type business, most if not all of their customers are going to have an address that's in California. So what we want to go ahead and open up the customers table in Datasheet View. So we'll go ahead and we'll double click on customer table. That's going to open up in Datasheet View, and then we have the state right here. And again, under the table tools, table fields, I can click on default value. And then we can type in there equals CA. And then hit OK. So what that did is that set the default value that if you don't type anything in there and change it, it's going to automatically default to California. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and keep it open because we're going to look at something, and that is on page AC 74, skill 2.13, which is modifying the field size property. Now, the field size property limits the number of characters that can be entered into a text field. And just know that the default size for a short text field is 255 characters, and that's the maximum size of a short text field. Now, limiting the field size can ensure that data are entered properly. For example, if you want entries for a state field to always contain 2-letter state abbreviation, you want to limit it to 2. It also helps with the database and the size of the database as well, to limit those to what you're actually going to be entering into each field. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open up. We already have the customers table in Datasheet View, and I want to change the field size of the state field to 2. So again, I have the state field selected, and then under field size, I'm going to go ahead and change that to 2 and press enter. Now it's going to again warn me that some data might be lost. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's because again, if there was something entered in there longer than 2 characters, it's going to chop off whatever was after that. Okay, but we're good. And then on page AC 75 through AC 77, we see the steps to how to set an input mask. And the input mask, that helps, that forces users to enter data in a consistent format. So for example, social security number, phone number, email, something like that. So we're going to set that up for the phone number field. And so again, we need to actually go ahead and switch the customer table into the design view. So again, with it open in Datasheet View, under the table tools, table fields, there is this option of the design view. So it's the triangle, the pencil, and a ruler. If we click on that, that takes us into design view. And I want to apply the phone number input mask format to the phone field, and I don't want to change the default format or placeholder characters, and then store the data without the symbols. So what we'll do is we'll go down here to the phone number field, and notice right here, input mask. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ellipsis. It's going to bring up this. So what we're entering in there is we're entering in a phone number. And so we want the data to look like this. And so we can click, when it says try it, I can click, and then I can go to the beginning, and I can actually enter in a number, and it would automatically format it. So we can hit next. And so we can leave it as it is. And then it says that I want to store it without the symbols. So we can say without the symbols and say OK, and then finish. And then we can go ahead and go back here to save the table. And then I want to switch back to the datasheet view. So we'll go here to datasheet view. Notice now that it changed how it looks. And then it says that they actually want us, okay. Let's see here. They want us to enter in a new record. So to do that, we're going to go down here to the bottom. We'll click new. Now notice that the customer ID has a field that it wants. So it wants 3 letters and then 3 numbers, and that's an input mask that's done. So I guess it's not, but anyway, so we'll do CCD dash 1, 2, 3. You can enter whatever you want. So now notice how the phone masks how it is. So it wants the area code. Okay, so that's how that works. All right, and then they want us to go ahead and keep that open. So now the next thing is working with attachment fields. Now, one of the most useful enhancements in recent versions of Access is the ability to create attachment fields to store files as attachments to records. Attachments can be pictures, Word documents, or almost any other type of data file. For security reasons, Access will not allow program files, for example, exe or bat files, or any files greater than 256 megs as attachments. And so it gives you the instructions as to how it wants you to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an attachment field to the far right of the table. So what we'll do is we'll scroll over. Notice we'll go ahead and we'll go click to add, and then we'll go down here to attachment. So now it created an attachment field to each one. So then what we need to do is find our customer, Bernice James. So she's our first customer. So what we can do then is we can click on the paperclip, double click on it, and I want to go ahead and click add. So what I'll do is I'll just do this. So we'll go ahead and double click on the paperclip, then we'll hit add. Then we need to find the file that we need to add. So we'll go here to the Access Chapter 2 assignments, Bernice James LMT, and then we'll hit open. And then we can go ahead and click OK. So notice now that it shows that there's one attachment. And let's say I wanted to look at that, what that was, I could just double click it. Notice then it shows me what it is, and I can hit open, and then there it is. So then it opens up the picture, and in this case, it's a picture of our client. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll hit the X, and we'll click OK. So now page AC80 is to add a lookup field from another table. And it gives you the instructions. So a lookup field allows the user to select data from a list of items. One type of lookup list presents values from a field that's in another table or query. Okay, so what we'll do on page, it talks about it again on AC81, AC82, but then the instructions here that we want are on AC83. So we'll go ahead and close out of our customers table. And this time we want to go ahead and open up the appointments table, but it's going to be in design view. So again, we'll click on appointments. We'll right click, we'll choose design view. And then what we want to do, we want to modify the customer field then, instead of short text, to be a lookup field. So we can go ahead and under customer, we're going to go ahead and scroll down. So instead of short text, we're going to choose the Lookup Wizard for that field. And we know it's going to come from a specific table. So we're going to go ahead and leave this selected. I want the lookup field to get the values from another table or query. So we'll go ahead and click next. Then it asks us which table. Well, customers, so it's going to come from our customers table. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit next. Then I want to include the customer ID. So we'll go ahead and hit the next arrow to do that, the first name and the last name. So I click on the arrow here to add it to our selected fields. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit next. Then it asks how I want to sort it. I want it sorted by last name. So we'll go ahead and click on the arrow and we'll choose last name, and it'll be last name ascending. So it'll be A through Z. So we'll do that. And then right here, it says hide key column. That's recommended. We'll go ahead and leave that checked. So we'll leave it there. We'll hit next. And then it asks us to, we can enforce data integrity. So we'll do that. And do not allow deletion in the customers table that would violate the integrity of records in the appointment table. So we want to restrict delete. And then what we can do then is go ahead and hit finish. And it's telling us the table must be saved before relationships can be created. Save now. So we'll go ahead and say yes. So now it's created that. So then we'll go ahead and save the table again, and it says it's changed. And we'll go ahead and hit yes to save it. Then we'll go ahead and switch to the Datasheet view. And then we see here all of the names of our customers. And so if we click on Sandy and we left click, notice now that it is a list. And so we could just click and choose which customer it is. And again, it's ascending by, so Beach, Sandy, and Christopher, Sandor, so on and so forth. Okay. So it's in order by the last name. Excuse me, then we want to close the table. So we'll go ahead and look over on page AC 84 and 85, and that is skill 2.17, which is adding a lookup field from a list. And so again, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open up our customer table in Design View. So we'll go ahead and click on Customers, right click, go in Design View. So there it is. We want to modify the phone type field to use the lookup list for the following values: home, work, mobile, or other. Because right now we're just typing it in there. The reason why you want to use a lookup rather than just like typing that in is the fact that you're going to have different capitalizations, you're going to have different things, and it's just going to be a mess. So by doing a lookup, it makes it a lot easier. So we'll go phone type. Right now it's set to short text. I'm going to go ahead and go down to Lookup Wizard. This time I want to say I want to type in the values that I want. So I'll go ahead and select that and hit next. And then it's asking for a number of columns. So we just need one column because we're just going to go ahead and type the list. So we'll do home. We hit tab to go to the next one: work, mobile, and other. Okay. Then we can go ahead and hit next. And it's asking us to phone type. And they do want us to limit the lookup list to the values in the table. So we'll say limit to list. So we'll go ahead and check that box. And then we can go ahead and hit finish. So now if I go back to the datasheet view, it's going to ask us to save it. So then under the phone type, notice now that it actually, rather than us typing it in there, I can click, I can pull down, and then I can click on which one it is. Okay. And then we'll look at skill 2.18, which is creating relationships, on page AC 86 and page AC 87. So we'll go ahead. We need to not be in anything. So if you're in any other tables, you need to close them. So right now I have the customers table. So I'm going to go ahead and click the X in order to close out of the customers table. So now what I want to do is I want to open up the relationships window. So we'll go up here to database tools, and then I'll choose the relationships. And we see that. And if necessary, add the locations table and the services table. So we'll go up here to add tables. And then I need to add the locations table. So I'll go ahead and double click to add that, and the services table. So now notice that now let's see here. Actually, it looks like I have all of those. So here's locations right here. So we'll just go ahead and move this back. So you may have to scroll over in order to see everything. Okay, so here we are. So now what we want to do is let's see, is to create a new relationship between the location ID and the location table and the location field under the services. So to do that, what I'm going to do is click here, edit relationships, and then it's going to ask me to select which table. So it's going to be services, and that should relate to the okay. Let me try this again. So we'll go ahead and click on edit relationships. We'll go ahead and hit create new. So then the left table should be the, let's see, should be the locations table, and it would be the location ID. And then the right table then would be the location field on the services table. So we'll choose the services table, then we'll choose the location field. So we'll go ahead and choose that. Then we'll click OK. Notice now that it did that, and I want to enforce the data integrity between the two fields. And then we'll go ahead and hit create. So notice now that location ID here goes with the location on the services. And then they want us to go ahead and keep this open since we're moving on to the next skill, which is skill 2.19, which is enforcing deletion and updates in relationships. So for this one, what we're going to do is, again, we still have our relationships window open, so we have that. And I want to modify the relationships between these services and location tables so that when a record in the location table is updated, related records in the services table are also updated. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and right click on the line that's connecting the service ID to the location, again, under the locations and in the services table. And I want to choose Cascade Update well, delete, I don't want. I want it to do the update. When it's deleted. So it'll be the delete and update. So we'll go ahead and say Cascade Update related to fields, Cascade Delete related to fields. Then we'll go ahead and click OK. So then we want that, and then we can go ahead and close the relationships window. It might ask us to save the layout of it. We can say yes. So then what we can do is we can go ahead and close out of our file. Then what I want to do is upload the file that we've been working on. So I'll go back into Canvas and I'll go ahead and click, it says drag a file here or click to upload. And I'll go into my Access Chapter 2 assignments and I'll choose the file. It might take it a moment to upload, and then it does, and then hit Submit Assignment. And again, it's not going to be able to show a preview, but know that it is in fact there.